Hare Krishna, Anasuya.
Hare Krishna, second canto, part two.
Part two. I have some in different places in the house.
Okay. You're doing part two. Oh, thank you. You said maybe CDC more, more of us.
Thank you.
Yes. We'll eventually get here.
It was the second canto.
Maybe some.
And I think I have a few others.
Canto 8. No, okay.
Hare Krishna, Bhakti Rosa.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Priya.
And what text is it?
Text 44, chapter 10.
Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions.
Yes.
That's what I'm seeing.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Rukmini. Hare Krishna, Dear Govinda.
Haribo.
Hari Hari.
Hare Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Jaivam Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer his humble obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan, to Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, to Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishiki. Hare Krishna. It's Vamanadev's appearance day today. And the first time I read or heard about Vamanadev was when my older daughter, she was 5 years old. And I read a lot about Vamandev, and there's actually a picture on the 8th canto. There's a picture of Lord Vamandev. So he's a dwarf with blonde hair and blue eyes, and that's exactly how my daughter looked like. And it said that that's like the size of Vamandev was like a 4 or 5 year old child. So I remember very clearly the first time I heard.
And that picture also has an umbrella like Rukmini's Zoom icon there.
Aha, yeah,
Umbrella.
that's why I was wondering, why does Rukmini have an umbrella? Okay, that's fun. I was actually going to go to chapter 7, and then in our reading group of Srimad Bhagavatam here in German, we came to text 44 of chapter 10 last Wednesday, and I thought this is a wonderful verse to go into today's class and discussion and exploration. So we'll do the Sanskrit first.
Okay.
Itam bhavena katito
Itam bhavena katito
Bhagavan Bhagavatama
Bhagavan Bhagavatama
Itam bhavena hi param
Etam bhavena hi param
Drashtum arhanti suraya
Drashtum arhanti suraya
Itam bhavena katito
Itam bhavena gatito.
Bhagavan Bhagavatama
Bhagavan Bhagavatama.
Nitam bhavena hi param
Etam bhavena hi param.
Rastum arhanti suraya
Drashtum arhanti suraya.
Itam bhavena katito
Itam bhavena katito.
Bhagavan Bhagavatama
Bhagavan Bhagavatama.
Nitam bhavena hi param
Etam bhavena hi param.
Rastum arhanti suraya
Drashtum arhanti suraya. Etam bhavena katito.
Itam bhavena katito
Bhagavan Bhagavatama.
Bhagavan Bhagavatama
Etam bhavena hi param.
Nitam bhavena hi param
Drashtum arhanti suraya.
Rastum arhanti suraya
Itam bhavena katito.
Itam bhavena katito.
Bhagavan Bhagavatama.
Bhagavan
Bhagavan Bhagavatama
Bhagavatama.
Nitam bhavena hi param.
Netam bhavena hi param.
Jastum aranti saraya.
Drashtum
Rastum
arhanti
arhanti suraya
suraya.
Itam bhavena katito
Itam bhavena
Bhagavena
katito.
katito
Bhagavan Bhagavattama
Bhagavan
Bhagavan Bhagavatama
Bhagavatama.
Netam bhavanehi param
Netam bhavena
Bhagavena hi param
param.
Drashtum aranti suraya
Drashtum arhanti
Arhanti
suraya.
suraya. Anyone online would like to recite? Okay. Itam,
Itam.
in these features,
These features.
bhavena,
Bhavena.
the matter of creation and destruction,
Matter of creation and destruction.
katita,
Katita.
described,
Described.
Bhagavan,
Bhagavan.
the personality of Godhead,
Personality of Godhead.
Bhagavatama,
Bhagavatama.
by the great transcendentalists,
by the great transcendentalists.
na,
Na,
not,
not,
itam,
itam,
in this,
in this,
bhavena,
bhavena,
features,
features,
he,
he,
only,
only,
param,
param,
most glorious,
most glorious,
drashtum,
Drashtum.
to see,
to
To
see,
see.
arhanti,
Arhanti.
deserve,
deserve,
suraya,
suraya,
great devotees.
great devotees.
Devotees.
Translation: the great transcendentalists thus describe the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the pure devotees deserve to see more glorious things in transcendence beyond these features. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Lord is not only the creator and destroyer of the material manifestations of his different energies. He is more than a simple creator and destroyer, for there is his feature of Ananda, or his pleasure feature. This pleasure feature of the Lord is understood by the pure devotees only, and not by others. The impersonalist is satisfied simply by understanding the all-pervasive influence of the Lord. This is called Brahman realization. Greater than the impersonalist is the mystic who sees the Lord situated in his heart as Paramatma, the partial representation of the Lord. But there are pure devotees who take part in the direct pleasure, Ananda potency of the Lord, by factual reciprocation of loving service. The Lord in his abode called the Vaikuntha planets, which are eternal manifestations, always remain with his associates and enjoys transcendental loving services by his pure devotees in different transcendental humors. The pure devotees of the Lord thus undergo a practice of that devotional service to the Lord during the manifestation of the creation, and take full advantage of the manifestation by qualifying themselves to enter into the kingdom of God. The Bhagavad Gita 1855 confirms this. Bhaktyamama bijanati yavanyaschasmi tatvata tato mam tattvato gyatva vishate tat anantaram. By development of pure devotional service, one can factually know the Lord as he is, and thus be trained in the bona fide service to the Lord, and be allowed to enter into the direct association of the Lord in so many capacities. The highest glorious association with the Lord is made possible in the planet of Goloka, Vrindavan, where Lord Krishna enjoys himself with the gopis and his favorite animals, the Surabhi cows. A description of this transcendental land of Krishna is given in the Brahma Samhita, which is considered by Lord Sri Chaitanya to be the most authentic literature in this connection. Om Ajnanatirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namustate Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evaja Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine. Hare Krishna. So just these last lines in the Prabhupada pranams is offering respect and appreciation to Srila Prabhupada for carrying the message of Lord Chaitanya to us, to the world that is full of voidism and impersonalism. And that's what I want to focus on today, the personalism, and how Krishna appears to us in the material world in a spiritual body, yet visible to our material eyes, to help us understand that the supreme cause of everything has a form and is a person. And so that's also why he appears as Lord Vamanadeva. So let's start with what is the goal of life? What is success? Maybe we can have some sharings. What is success? What is success in life? Celebration?
I go back home to Godhead.
Go back home to Godhead, that's success. Any other success?
Liberation and relief from material misery.
Yes, liberation from pain, from misery. That's success. When we achieve that, we'll be successful. Yeah, so I think like we can make a big list. And we have our personal definitions, what success is. And then, yeah, what you said, Anasuya, that's what Srila Prabhupada says. Success is, actually, I heard Srila Prabhupada say in a class, success is love of God. When we come to the place of loving God, that is success in life, which is, yeah, going back to Godhead. So loving God with heart, soul, might, body, words, that's the goal of life, and that's what most religions are about, really, to help us come to that place. When I say religions, I like the essential teachings are often that's Lord Jesus Christ's teaching. That's the teaching in the Old Testament, to love God with all our heart and all our might and all our soul. So what does it mean to love God? That's a question I ask myself a lot. And where I am right now in my life, to love God is well, to practice to love God is to love His creation. That's what I'm in contact with. That's what I have daily interactions with other living entities in all sorts of different bodies. So that's how I practice to love God, by loving His creation. And love has a lot. It's a big word, so we can take it apart into different. What does it actually mean? And one definition I really like is well, love is acceptance, being in agreement with the purpose of creation. That's something that Srila Prabhupada writes in a purport. I think it's in Bhagavad Gita. I don't remember where. It just stayed with me. Love is acceptance, and there's peace with that. Being at peace with the purpose of creation, not creation, but the purpose of creation. Why is there creation? And I was attracted to Srimad Bhagavatam because, well, mainly because of the Sattva-Tov slogan, the highest truth is reality, distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. And I was interested, how can I live for the welfare of all? And so I thought, oh, okay, here's a book that seems to have information of how to get there. And then in the introduction, Srila Prabhupada actually, so I'm paraphrasing him, but he's saying, okay, here's a course. This Srimad Bhagavatam is a course. And by taking it with full presence to it, full participation, and with an awake intellect and an open heart, then we get to know God. So if we go through Srimad Bhagavatam, text for text, chapter for chapter, when we come to Canto 10, we'll know God. And that's quite an amazing promise. We'll know God. And what happens if we know someone really well? Like if we really know like someone in their inner world, in their inner heart, then we develop appreciation and affection and love. That seems to naturally happen. So by reading and studying Srimad Bhagavatam, we'll develop attraction for Krishna, for that Supreme Person. And that's been my experience studying Srimad Bhagavatam. Like I mainly, like it's a deconstruction of my conceptions of how God should be, what He should do, how the world should be, how the world should function, how I should be. So it's mainly destructing all these illusions and misconceptions and understandings by which I live my life, like my own manufactured religion of what will lead me to success. And Srimad Bhagavatam is like opening my eyes to see, oh, I completely misunderstood. I need to move out of the box. And Srimad Bhagavatam doesn't just say move out of the box, it actually presents us what is outside of the box. And the more I am sincere and open to see beyond the box, I get to see and I get to understand. It reminded me of, like, one example I have I trained as a primary school teacher. So for 3 years I was studying and I learned how to teach maths to kids, how to teach grammar to kids. And there's like million Swiss francs invested into books, study books, giving like a linear path how a child learns math or how they learn grammar, how they learn a language. It's like really well thought through. And so I learned how to teach, what is the way to learn math? First you do this, then you do this, then you do this. And so I was teaching homeschoolers, and mostly they're kids who are like free thinkers, individual thinkers. They are very connected to their inner like knowledge and wisdom and bright. And this well thought out path of learning doesn't work for them. It just doesn't make any sense to them. And so that's how I started teaching homeschoolers, like, this is the way to do it. And I got frustrated because they wouldn't. And I was homeschooling with my husband, who's not been through teacher training. And he would just go and do very complicated maths, which for me was, you cannot do this. First, they need to do this, and then you can go there. And he would just connect with the kids where they were and offer them math problems. And they were, finding the solutions and having lots of fun. So I needed to unlearn. And what is the way to get to success, what I thought was success. So yeah, that's this deconstruction. I mean, that's a deconstruction that happened in my life. And yet, deconstruction in my deepest thought patterns of who is God. He's a revengeful God. Well, no, that's not what we get from Srimad Bhagavatam. We get a different picture. Discovering our illusions, like Grunge's payoff. For some, Grunge's payoffs has been a theme. Pulling the weeds in the garden of the heart. That's another way of, it's an illusion to believe I am my grunges, my shortcomings, my self-limiting beliefs. I'm like I am unworthy. Well, no, Krishna is like the most beautiful and amazing person, and we're made in his image. So there's nothing unworthy about it. And Richard Rohr actually has I have a quote by Richard Rohr, and he says, most religion is about creating structures to keep God under control. The true journey is to open to all the experiences, not just what fits the rational mind. Keep heart, head, body, and soul open. Keep all listening paths open. That's true spirituality. And I really like that quote. For me, it captures the way to approach Srimad Bhagavatam, and also the intention of Srimad Bhagavatam, and how we can learn. So the main illusion is I am this body, and the body is subject to pain, misery, death, old age, all kinds of disturbances. And when we identify with the body, we identify with all these disturbances, and it becomes a misery. And I was just last Tuesday, I visited a friend. I go to her and I help her in the garden. I learn from her about gardening. And her neighbor came and she said, could I get some potatoes? My husband wants mashed potatoes. And I got like, I was moved by her like service mood towards her husband, but I got something special about this, and when she left, my friend told me that her husband has cancer and is in the last stage of cancer, and that he signed up with an association we have in Switzerland. It's called Exit. It's an association that helps terminally ill people die by choice. So it's like planned legal suicide. And so he signed up with this association because he's in so much pain. And next Monday, he's going to exit his life. And she shared that actually this neighbor, he's in a place of really wanting to die. He has such a strong, like a longing to die. He doesn't want to continue living. He just wants to die. And still he has, he wants his favorite dishes, and he wants his favorite things before he exits. And I was struck by that. I mean, I was struck by her devotion to her husband. I was really feeling pain that it's so unnatural for a living entity to want to die. And he's like so misidentified with his body that, yeah, death is like it's freedom. It's not a longing to be with God or to be really, it's just a longing to end the suffering. And yeah, that's illusion. That's illusion, to think that death is going to be the solution for the pain and the suffering and for the misery. And yeah, the basic truth is I'm a spirit soul, eternal, servant of God. That's the truth. And my home is unconditional love. That's the water. That's our water. That's where we feel at home and where we feel fulfilled, where there's eternal protection and also eternal pleasure and joy. So that's what we're looking for. And Krishna appears in this material world to open our eyes, to open our eyes to see, like, yeah, being identified with the body, being stuck in a material body and identified with it. It's just one misery after the other, and we can have, like, I mean, I know, like, I come up with ideas again and again what will make me happy. Or when I do this and when I achieve this, I'll not suffer. And it has never worked, and I guess it will never work. So Krishna comes to open our eyes. He comes by, personally in a certain form, or he sends his messengers, his sons, his devotees to open our eyes. And they collaborate together, like Srila Prabhupada is collaborating with Krishna and writing all these purports for us to understand. And yeah, to teach us that God has a form. Like, it's not just the unconditional love that we're looking for. It's also the relationship with the source of the unconditional love, the source. And that source has a personality, and it has a form. And that form is not material. Krishna expresses that in Bhagavad Gita. The form is not material, it's transcendental. And yet still we can see it with our eyes. And I thought that was interesting, that, yeah, when Krishna appears in the material world, we can see him. Yet Krishna in the eternal world is not, we need special eyes. Like in Brahma Samhita is mentioned in the purport. We can see Krishna, his original form, when our eyes are smeared with love. That's how so with our ordinary eyes, we cannot see Krishna. And yeah, by Krishna appearing here in the material world in a form that we can actually see and perceive, we can practice devotional service. And Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport that actually when he comes in an incarnation, in a form, we can practice. It's an opportunity to practice or to come to pure devotional service, which seems to be, well, a more advanced place. And the pure devotional service, that's my understanding of, well, love of God. The success is when we have pure love of God, when it is pure. And there's the famous verse by Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Devotion. Anya bilashita shunyam jnana karmanya dhyana vritam anukulyena krishnano shilanam bhaktir uttama, which describes the devotional service that is pleasing to Krishna is the one that where there is no material motivation. There's no material motivation, nothing that we want to gain for ourselves, for our body, for our pleasure. And that's the service that makes Krishna really happy. Like that's where he finds most, that's his favorite service. And then on the other side, we have the verse in Srimad Bhagavatam about ourselves, like what it is for ourselves when we come to pure devotional service. That's the service that is going to be completely fulfilling for the self. That's savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir adokshache ahatukya pratyeta yayatma suprasidati. So that's how we come to eternal pleasure, by service. And we are just studying chapter 8 in the Bhagavad Gita course. I know some of you are also in the course, and I was looking at some of the verses. And yeah, like but through devotional service, we can actually get all the results that we can get through fruitive activity or mental speculation, or the same results we can get by devotional service. And life is a complete different experience when the goal is service and not getting these things. So why don't we just go for it? Yeah, why? So somehow or other, most of us don't just go for it, even if we know it and it makes sense. Well, I certainly still have a lot of other motivations. And so how can I come to this place of unmotivated devotional service? And it's Srila Prabhupada was, I listened to a class on that he gave in 72, I think it was, on Lord Varaha's appearance day. And he speaks about the spiritual master. And I got, oh yeah, that's it. Like take apprenticeship. Like I took apprenticeship with my husband, how to teach maths to homeschoolers. I'm taking an apprenticeship with my friend Susan in the garden, so I can learn how to garden and grow abundant vegetables and fruit. So yeah, if we want to come to love of God and pure devotional service, then we take an apprenticeship with a spiritual master, and we commit. We commit to his teaching. If we're like really want to go for it, the commitment helps. The commitment is important. We commit to the teacher and to his teachings, and for life. For life. And I think Srila Prabhupada speaks to that, because in Lord Vamanadev's Leela, where we're going to go there, we're going to read, Bali Maharaj, his spiritual master, Sukracharya, was giving him advice, and Bali Maharaj didn't listen. And it's actually considered like, yeah, you don't leave your spiritual master unless he is like stopping our devotional service to Krishna. So Shukracharya, his instruction to Bali Maharaj was like, other than serve Lord Vishnu, serve Krishna. So it was like a sign of Bali Maharaj's devotion and commitment to service to Krishna, to not listen to his spiritual master. So I'd like to go to the appearance of Lord Vamanadeva, how it's described in Srimad Bhagavatam, and it's in the 8th canto. And well, it's we're kind of entering in the middle of a huge thing that's happening between the demigods and the demons. The demons had taken over the universe, and the demigods fled from their homes, and King Indra wasn't in his palace, and so there's a big thing. And Lord Krishna, he's like so equally disposed to everyone, so he doesn't take side. And yet in this part of the whole big drama between the demigods and the demons, Krishna seems to take side. And it happens because of his compassion for a mother. So here there's Aditi, the mother of the demigods, who is suffering because she's separated from her children, and she's in pain and she's in grief, and she wants her children back. And there's a whole thing. She's with her husband and she's doing some austerities, and then Vishnu agrees to become her son to support her. And so Lord Vamanadeva appears to Aditi and Kashyapa Muni. And I'm going to read from the beginning of chapter 18 how he appears and what he looks like. So Shukadev Goswami said, after Lord Brahma had thus spoken, glorifying the Supreme Lord's activities and prowess, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is never subject to death like an ordinary living being, appeared from the womb of Aditi. His 4 hands were decorated with a conch shell, club, lotus, and disc. He was dressed in yellow garments, and his eyes appeared like the petals of a blooming lotus. The body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, blackish in complexion, was free from all inebrieties. His lotus face, decorated with earrings resembling sharks, appeared very beautiful, and on his bosom was the mark of Srivatsa. He wore bangles on his wrists, armlets on his arms, a helmet on his head, a belt on his waist, a sacred thread across his chest, and ankle bells decorating his lotus feet. An uncommonly beautiful garland of flowers decorated his bosom, and because the flowers were extremely fragrant, a large group of bees, making their natural humming sounds, invaded them for honey. When the Lord appeared wearing the Kaustuba gem on his neck, his effulgence vanquished the darkness in the home of the Prajapati Kashyapa. At that time there was happiness in all directions, in the reservoirs of water like the rivers and oceans, and in the core of everyone's heart. The various seasons displayed their respective qualities, and all living entities in the upper planetary systems, in outer space and on the surface of the earth, were jubilant. The demigods, the cows, the brahmanas, and the hills and mountains were all filled with joy. On the day of Shravana Dvadashi, the 12th day of the bright fortnight in the month of Bhadra, when the moon came into the lunar mansion Shravana, at the auspicious moment of Abhijit, the Lord appeared in this universe. Considering the Lord's appearance very auspicious, all the stars and planets from the sun to Saturn were munificently charitable. O King, when the Lord appeared, the sun was at the meridian, as every learned scholar knows. This Dvadashi is called Vijaya. Conch shells, kettle drums, pannavas, and anakas vibrated in concert. The sound of these and various other instruments was tumultuous. Being very pleased, the celestial dancing girls, Apsaras, danced in jubilation. The best of the Gandharvas sang songs, and the great sages, demigods, Manus, Pittas, and fire gods offered prayers to satisfy the Lord. The Siddhas, Vidyadharas, Kimpurushas, Kinnaras, Charanas, Yakshas, Rakshasas, Suparnas, the best of serpents, and the followers of the demigods all showered flowers on Aditi's residence, covering the entire house, while glorifying and praising the Lord and dancing. When Aditi saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who had appeared from her own womb, having accepted a transcendental body by his own spiritual potency, she was struck with wonder and was very happy. Upon seeing the child, Prajapati Kashyapa exclaimed, Jai, Jai, in great happiness and wonder. The Lord appeared in his original form with ornaments and weapons in his hands. Although this ever-existing form is not visible in the material world, he nonetheless appeared in this form. Then, in the presence of his father and mother, he assumed the form of Vamana, a Brahman dwarf, a brahmachari, just like a theatrical actor. When the great sages saw the Lord as the brahmachari dwarf, Vamana, they were certainly very pleased. Thus they placed before them Kashyapa Muni, the Prajapati, and performed all the ritualistic ceremonies, such as the birthday ceremony. At the sacred thread ceremony of Vamandev, the sun god personally uttered the Gayatri mantra. Brihaspati offered the sacred thread, and Kashyapa Muni offered a straw belt. So this was like a universal historical event, the birth of Lord Vamana, and everyone just traveled to go there and celebrate. Mother Earth gave him the deer skin, and the demigod of the moon, who is the king of the forest, gave him a Brahman danda, the rod of a brahmachari. His mother Aditi gave him cloth for underwear, and the deity presiding over the heavenly kingdom offered him an umbrella. O king, Lord Brahma offered a water pot to the inexhaustible Supreme Personality of Godhead. The 7 sages offered him kusha grass, and Mother Saraswati gave him a string of Rudraksha beads. When Vamanadev had thus been given the sacred thread, Kuvera, king of the Yakshas, gave him a pot for begging alms, and Mother Bhagavati, the wife of Lord Shiva, and most chaste mother of the entire universe, gave him his first alms. Having thus been welcomed by everyone, Lord Vamandev, the best of the brahmacharis, exhibited his Brahman effulgence. Thus he surpassed in beauty the entire assembly, which was filled with greatly saintly brahmanas. After Lord Sri Vamandev set a sacrificial fire, he offered worship and performed a fire sacrifice on the sacrificial field. When the Lord heard that Bali Maharaj was performing Ashvamedha sacrifices under the patronage of Brahmanas belonging to the Bhrigu dynasty, the Supreme Lord, who is full in every respect, proceeded there to show him his mercy to Bali Maharaj. By his weight, he is a dwarf. By his weight, he pushed down the earth with every step. So Vamandev, that was his plan to go to Bali Maharaj, because Bali Maharaj, he was the king of the entire, world. I'm not sure. Well, he was the king, and he was living in the palace of the king of heaven. So, and he was a demon. So Vamandev's appearance was to get the demigods back to their places, to get the Aditi's children back. So he went to Bali Maharaj. And Bali Maharaj, although he was a demon, and in a recent class, Dear Govinda, you spoke about demon. It's like it can be considered like a surname. So there's the Prahlad Maharaj, who is actually the grandfather of Bali Maharaj, is the greatest, considered the greatest devotee. And also Bali Maharaj was devoted to Krishna, even though he was the king of the demons. And yet it seems Bali Maharaj did get some confusion. And so Vamandev went to show his mercy to Bali Maharaj. So he went to the sacrificial place, and Bali Maharaj recognized, oh, this is a Brahman, and a king, when he meets a Brahman, he offers him a gift. And he said to Vamandev, you can ask a benediction, you can ask me, what would you like? And Vamandev, he begged, he said, well, I'd like 3 paces of your land. And Bali Maharaj was ready to give him that. I mean, he could have had an island, or a kingdom, or a beautiful wife, or anything, but Vamandev, the dwarf, just wanted 3 paces of land. And if we look at how big is 1 pace, 1 step of a dwarf, it's not very much. And so Bali Maharaj was ready to give him that, and his spiritual master Sukracharya, warned him and said, don't do that. Don't give it to him. This is Lord Vishnu, and he's going to take away everything. And Bali Maharaj, he was true, like he's known as true to his word. Like if he gives his word, he will not break it. He will not go back on it. And so he said, no, I promised I'm going to give him 3 pieces of land. I think Shukracharya then even cursed Bali Maharaj and said, if you do that, you'll lose everything. And so that's what was going to happen anyway. That was the plan. And so Vamandev then took his first step, and while taking his first step, he grew. He grew the size of Earth, and he just took one step, covering the whole Earth. And he took another step, and he covered the entire universe. And in a recent class, I spoke about Mother Ganga, the river Ganga. It's actually the water of the causal ocean. It's the water where Mahavishnu lies. And because Vamandev took a step, he scratched the covering of the universe, and there was like a rip, and so the water came in. And then there's a whole fascinating description how the water gets carried through the universe until it reaches India, the Himalayas, and then
The story how he said the Ganges water, it comes from the lotus feet of Vishnu in the form of Vamanadeva. It comes from his toe cracking the universe.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So, well, Vamana's there, having taken 2 steps, and Bali Maharaj realizes, okay, this is not just some dwarf Brahman. This is Lord Vishnu, and he well, kind of feels ashamed for having seen everything as his possession, and he wants to be true to his word. And you know, he promised 3 steps. So where would Vamandev take the 3rd step? And then what Bali Maharaj does, he offers his head, like, you can put the 3rd step on my head. And just around that time, Prahlad Maharaj appeared, the grandfather of Bali Maharaj, and Bali Maharaj was shameful in front of his grandfather. And I'm going to go forward in Srimad Bhagavatam and read a little about what happened then when after Vamandev had put his foot on on Bali Maharaj's head, and Prahlad Maharaj was there. So that's from chapter 22. Then Bali Maharaj saw his grandfather Prahlad Maharaj, the most fortunate personality whose dark body resembled black ointment for the eyes. His tall, elegant figure was dressed in yellow garments. He had long arms, and his beautiful eyes were like the petals of a lotus. He was very dear and pleasing to everyone. Being bound by the ropes of Varuna, Bali Maharaj could not offer befitting respect to Prahlad Maharaj as he had before. Rather, he simply offered respectful obeisances with his head, his eyes being inundated with tears and his face lowered in shame. When the great person, Vamandev had actually arrested Bali Maharaj with the rope of Varuna. When the great personality Prahlad Maharaj saw that the Supreme Lord was sitting there surrounded and worshipped by his intimate associates like Sunanda, he was overwhelmed with tears of jubilation. Approaching the Lord and falling to the ground, he offered obeisances to the Lord with his head. So Prahlad Maharaj, he had met Lord Krishna before in the form of Nrsingadev, half man, half lion. So he gets to see the Lord again. Prahlad Maharaj said, "My Lord, it is your lordship who gave this Bali the very great opulence of the post of heavenly king, and now today it is you who have taken it all away. I think you have acted with equal beauty in both ways. Because his exalted position as king of heaven was putting him in the darkness of ignorance, you have done him a very merciful favor by taking away all his opulence. Material opulence is so bewildering that it makes even a learned, self-controlled man forget the search for the goal of self-realization. That seems to be some kind of response to why don't we just go for pure devotional service? Because we are in the material realm and we can get so bewildered. Even the wise and the sages and the learned, they can get bewildered. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, the Lord of the universe, can see everything by his will. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Shukadev Goswami continued, O King Parikshit, Lord Brahma then began to speak to the Supreme Personality of Godhead within the hearing of Prahlad Maharaj, who stood nearby with folded hands. But Bali Maharaj's chaste wife, afraid and aggrieved at seeing her husband arrested, immediately offered obeisances to Lord Vamanadeva. She folded her hands and spoke as follows. Srimati Vindyavali, that's her name, said, O my Lord, you have created the entire universe for the enjoyment of your personal pastimes, but foolish, unintelligent men have claimed proprietorship for material enjoyment. Certainly they are shameless agnostics. Falsely claiming proprietorship, they think they can give charity and enjoy. In such a condition, what good can they do for you, who are the independent creator, maintainer and annihilator of this universe? Lord Brahma said, O well-wisher and master of all living entities, O worshipful deity of all the demigods, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, now this man has been sufficiently punished, for you have taken everything. Now you can realize him. He does not deserve to be punished more. And I find that really sweet and amazing. Lord Brahma, he's taking side. He's pleading to Krishna and to Vamanadeva and saying, don't punish Bali Maharaj. Please don't. Because, Vamanadeva sent Bali Maharaj to like a hellish planet. Said you go there because of the sins you committed. And so Lord Brahma is like, no, please don't send him there. Please we'll see later on that actually it's a blessing. But yeah, Lord Brahma speaks for Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj had already offered everything to your lordship. Without hesitation, he has offered his land, the planets, and whatever else he earned by his pious activities, including even his own body. By offering even water and newly grown grass or flower buds at your lotus feet, those who maintain no mental duplicity can achieve the most exalted position within the spiritual world. This Bali Maharaj without duplicity has now offered everything in the three worlds. How then can he deserve to suffer from arrest? The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Lord Brahma, because of material opulence, a foolish person becomes dull-witted and mad. Thus he has no respect for anyone within the three worlds and defies even my authority. To such a person I show special favor by first taking away all his possessions. And that's something Srila Prabhupada speaks about and also shares. He shares like his own experience. He says Krishna took everything away from him. He took away his business and his family and his money and everything. And he was, poor living in Vrindavan, begging for alms. And, sometimes once he was hurt, he was injured by a bull, I think it was. And he was on the street and someone eventually found him. And so Srila Prabhupada speaks to that by sharing his experience, which in my understanding is also a lila when it's from Srila Prabhupada. Like it's not that he needed to have everything taken away from him to come to full surrender. Yet that's how his life played out to give us an example. And he speaks about that. Sometimes Krishna takes everything away, and And it's actually a mercy, and it's a sign of the sincerity of the person experiencing that. While rotating in the cycle of birth and death again and again in different species because of his own fruitive activities, the dependent living entity by good fortune may happen to become a human being. This human birth is very rarely obtained. So where we are, the bodies we've received, it's a great gift. It's very rare if it, compared to all of creation and all the forms living entities take, the human body, the human form is special. If a human being is born in an aristocratic family or a higher status of life, if he performs wonderful activities, if he is youthful, if he has personal beauty, a good education and good wealth, and if he is nonetheless not proud of his opulences, it is to be understood that he is especially favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although aristocratic birth and other such opulences are impediments to advancement in devotional service, because they are causes of false prestige and pride, these opulences never disturb a pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that again reminded me of Srila Prabhupada. Maybe, I don't know, at his time, he was maybe one of the wealthiest persons there had. Well, $100,000s income every day and huge temples, and yet he was completely clear, that's not mine, that's not my possession, that's Krishna's. And he remained humble and detached. I'm going to go forward a little bit. Although bereft of his rishis, fallen from his original position, defeated and arrested by his enemies, rebuked and deserted by his relatives and friends, although suffering the pain of being bound and although rebuked and cursed by his spiritual master, Bali Maharaj, being fixed in his vow, did not give up his truthfulness. It was certainly with pretension that I spoke about religious principles, but he did not give up religious principles, for he is true to his word. So that's Vamanadeva describing Bali Maharaj and his exalted personality, like his clarity, his integrity, his commitment to Krishna, that even though he was, well, being cursed by one's own spiritual master, being left by friends and family, and still Bali Maharaj, he was fixed in his intention and in his vow, and did not give up his truthfulness. I find that very inspiring, and for some reason it reminded me of Noah and the ark. Noah in the Bible, he was instructed by Krishna to build an ark because there's going to be rainfall. And so Noah starts to build an ark, and everyone laughed at him. They made fun of him. Like, a flood, where will it come from? How can you know? Like, you're crazy. And still he completed the ark. And it's not a small thing. Like, it took many years to just get the wood and the planks and everything to hold a couple of each species. And he did it. And trusted the instructions of God. So that's like, exalted devotees. They are fully fixed in their trust and faith. I think I'm going to stop. Oh. Okay, no, I will read. So the Lord, he continues, because of his great tolerance, I have given him a place not obtainable even by the demigods. He will become king of the heavenly planets during the period of the Manu known as Savarni. Until Bali Maharaj achieves the position of king of heaven, he shall live on the planet Sutala, which was made by Vishwakarma according to my order. Because it is especially protected by me, it is free from mental and bodily miseries, fatigue, dizziness, defeat, and all other disturbances. Bali Maharaj, you may now go live there peacefully. So first it looks like he's being cursed, sent away but no, actually he's going to a place where he'll be protected in the personal association of Lord Vishnu every day. Until he gets another position, until he gets his next position where he can continue his service. So Bali Maharaj his aim is not liberation. His aim is, well, to serve Krishna in his eternal Leela, and he takes different positions. O great hero, I shall always be with you and give you protection in all respects, along with your associates and paraphernalia. Moreover, you will always be able to see me there. Because there you will see my supreme prowess, your materialistic ideas and anxieties that have arisen from your association with the demons and Danavas will immediately be vanquished. And that's how this chapter ends. And in the next chapter, it's described how the demigods go back, regain the heavenly planets. And we're not going to go there. Yeah, so going back to the text and purport, the text we read at the beginning, the great transcendentalist thus described the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the pure devotees deserve to see more glorious things in transcendence beyond these features. So that my understanding, reading about Vamanadeva and the other incarnations, that is the appearance of Krishna in a form that we can perceive. And we can, and pure devotees go where Krishna comes into the material manifestation to serve and to practice until they, go to the transcendental world, not just in consciousness, but also, geographically, if that could be called geographically. And I was thinking to complete with a verse from Brahma Samhita, because Brahma Samhita is mentioned, that Brahma Samhita gives an insight into Krishna outside of the material creation, so beyond the material creation. And I could read, or Tira Govinda, if you're inspired, you maybe want to recite, choose one of the Brahma Samhita verses and recite it for us. Would you like to do that?
A Brahma Samhita verse that describes Goloka Vrindavan. Well, there's that first one, text 29, the first one that ends Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Chintamani Pakarasat Masukalpa Vriksha Laksha Viteshu Surabhira Pipalayantam Lakshmi Sahasra Satasam Brahma Sevyamanam Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor who is tending the cows, yielding all desires and abodes built of spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of purpose trees, and served with great reverence and affection by hundreds and thousands of Lakshmis or gopis.
Thank you. Very beautiful. Yeah, so what I'm understanding from this is what you just recited, dear Govinda. It's all of Srimad Bhagavatam prepares us to not try and see this with our material eyes.
Yeah.
To come to understanding that, okay, what we hear, they are words used that we can relate to. Yet the form of Krishna, the color of Krishna, what he looks like, and the gopis, is all like beyond the imagination of our mind.
And then the devotee sees them with the eyes of devotion tinged with the salve of love. That's another Brahma Samhita verse, number 38. Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadaiva Vidayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Guna Svarupam Govindamadi Pusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord. It was Shyamasundar, Krishna himself, possessing innumerable transcendental attributes, and whom the pure devotees see in their heart of hearts with the eyes of devotion tinged with the salve of love. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Yeah, and in a very simple expression, a quote by Saint-Exupéry, he says, "We can only truly see with our heart." So yeah, let's continue to study Srimad Bhagavatam and deconstruct our concepts and, well, develop love and devotion so that eventually we can see Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you for listening and engaging and sharing, and I welcome any questions and comments and experiences, additions, corrections.
Well, thank you for bringing us into the qualities and pastimes of Sri Vamanadeva and his special pure devotee Bali Maharaj. Yeah, in the way you described, I got some fuller insight, fuller realization. Yeah, it's like it would seem like a very harsh activity. Bali Maharaj is so surrendered, and Vamanadeva is arresting him and tying him with ropes. Of course, it's the ropes of the transcendental Vasuki snake. But then, yeah, and then so it seems like very harsh. And then as the pastime turns out, just the contrast and the compassion comes out so potently that ultimately, sure, Bali Maharaj goes to a lower planet and he's ruling there, and that's his propensity. He's a Vaishnav Kshatriya, and Vamanadeva is serving as his doorman at the gate. So just the way the pastime unfolds is in such apparent contradictions, and how it seems like it's this harsh inimical relationship, and it becomes such a relationship of it's revealed as such a relationship of service and affection. So that kind of impacted me as you were sharing and reading.
Yeah, for me that also opened my eyes to understand more that everything that comes from Krishna is a blessing, and everything that comes from his pure devotee is a blessing. And it can look like a curse. So like Narada Muni cursed, what are the names? The sons of the demigods who then became the Arjuna trees in the courtyard of sorry?
Manigriva.
Manigriva and Nalakuvera. Right? Yes. Yes, thank you. So they were cursed. But actually, it turned out to be a blessing because they got to see Lord Krishna as a baby. And that's very special. So also here, it looked like a curse. Bali Maharaj losing all his possessions and even being tied and brought to prison. And it was a blessing. It was a blessing. He was protected by Vamanadeva, by Krishna, and he got his personal association. Thank you, dear Govinda.
Krishna.
Anything else?
I just appreciated your opening of what is the goal of life and love of God. And through devotional service, we get to know God. And I liked how we went with the Srimad Bhagavatam that we get to know God, and in this way we get these wonderful pastimes, and by chapter 10, we get to really experience God. And yeah, there's just so much. I know Lakshmi Priya's, Dhruva Maharaj, there's such a wonderful pastime that she's giving class every morning during treatment, during Arti. And so it just feels very personal and even far out, and yet and yet I'm attracted to it. I'm very attracted to it. And in your expression of having this form as a human body is so rare, so special, and I feel very fortunate. I'll share, I was voted to be the most successful person out of our high school class. And I didn't feel that way until I came to learn about Krishna. And one of the programs that Damayanti and Garuda had at their home, I was in tears, and I was like, I really now found the meaning of what is success. And I do feel like the most successful person out of my high school class coming to Krishna consciousness.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. Yes, you're the most successful because you understood what real success is and you're going for it.
And now it seems so simple. It was so difficult before. It's like, what am I gonna do? And now it's so simple.
It's so simple and so joyful. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, for Radhastami last Sunday, since many years I've been wanting to make a swing for the deities, Radha Gopi Vallabha, and I never did it. And then before Radhastami, I just got okay, I'm going to do it now. And I called my father. He has a wood workshop. And I called him and he was super excited. He said, "Are you coming today?" I said, "No, I'll come." And, we arranged to go a few days later, and I went, and he had prepared some wood, some beautiful wood, his most precious wood he gave to make the swing, and he helped me make the swing. And my mother came and "What are you doing?" And then she, "Wow, this is so beautiful." And send us pictures when you have the festival. They didn't want to come. I invited them to come, but they didn't want to come. So I sent them a video of the, swinging and the kirtan. And my mother wrote to me and she said, "Anit," she calls me Anit, "this is so strange. This is so strange. I don't understand. Yet it's so beautiful. And I'm really proud of what you're doing." And it really touched my heart. And I agreed with her. I said, yes, I also, for my mind, for my material condition, I didn't say material condition, I just said for my mind, it is really strange. Like I'm a grown-up woman and I'm doing what children do with dolls, put them on the swing and have so much fun. So I said to her, yeah, for my mind, it is completely strange. And yet my heart is so joyful. And then she said, this was text messaging. So she texted back and she said, "I agree. I agree." And it's a chat I have with my dad and mom, so the three of us. And then my dad chimed in and he said, "Yes, that's how it is. Strange for the mind and just beautiful and joyful for the heart." So yeah, like it can all be so strange. God appearing as a dwarf or as a fish, as a turtle, as half man, half lion. And it said Krishna appears in all species, so we don't even know about. So he must appear as a tree, as a flower, as a bee, as a mosquito, as a virus. Viruses are living entities. So just in every species he appears. And for the mind, it's very strange. And yet if we are open with all our listening paths, like Richard Rohr says, then it reaches the heart, and the heart understands. Somehow the heart just feels really joyful. Bhakti and Rosa, yes.
Something that's been grabbing my attention lately is anything to do with seeing and anything to do with impersonalism. And what's coming through for me in the verse that we read today. I'm just thinking in my personal reflections, the subtle impersonalist tendencies in myself, and what does that have to do with sight? So you look upon what is, and depending on how covered in illusion you are is based on what you see, not on what is, right? And so God is there. Our ability to see is based on our connection with Paramatma in the heart, is what I'm understanding. And then through the grace of Paramatma in the heart, when we see with our heart, it's what's allowing us, is that grace to see. And the salve of love, I understand, is the connection with God in the heart.
Mm.
And yeah, just there's a lot of different connections there for me, and I'm not bringing them all just now, but yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, like what I'm understanding from you is that it's through mercy and the grace of Paramatma that we get to see and understand and distinguish the reality from illusion. That's what you're saying. And then also the love that we develop, the devotion through that connection.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
I'm thinking in the quintessential spiritual master verse, Tadvidi Pranipatena Paripashtena Sevya Upadekshanti Tekinam Ganinas Tattvadarshina. Ganinas Tattvadarshina. Darshina means because the self-realized soul, they've seen the truth, so they can give us Niksha Upadekshanti Teganam, so they can fill our heart with transcendental knowledge, because darshan actually means to see. And so like we can think of darshana when sometimes in standard India Vedic darshan, you come before the guru like that. And it is like, because you actually get to see the truth, you actually get to realize the truth, and that's the actual darshan. You're seeing knowledge, you're realizing knowledge.
Mm. Yeah, so it's through the spiritual master, and well, my understanding it's kind of both ways. No, it also takes my sincerity. Like I know that when I sincerely ask to be shown how I'm in illusion,
Mm-hmm.
it is revealed to me. Yet if I'm not sincerely asking, it's unlikely that I will, even if Srila Prabhupada throws it at me in his lecture, it's just there. And I just don't get it because I'm not sincere, because I don't want to see, or I'm not ready to see.
Yeah, that's the part for us, that we're sincere to have the veil of Maya lifted. We're sincere to follow Srila Prabhupada, to serve, and to accept Srila Prabhupada, and then through that sincerity, then we qualify our consciousness to receive and actually see transcendental reality.
Like you said earlier, it's outside of reason and logic, right? Our mind, but we can feel it within our heart. And then to the extent that we can accept direction. So I was watching a video of Prabhupada, and there's like all these people, suits, like interviewing him, and I don't know who they are, but there's this one man, he's so certain, and he says, well, it's so important to explore all the different religions and to have access and to like spend time. And Prabhupada very quickly is like, this is the way to God. Why don't approach this? Just do this, right? And it's just interesting, like given the way people are like, oh, but like I want to go here and I want to go there and I want to do this other thing too.
Mm-hmm.
Focus. You're given the answer. Here it is.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Wow. Yeah. I'm in contact with someone who's he's actually the landlord where I rent an office for coaching. And I recently discovered that he's reading Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, and so we're having conversations. And he came to a reading evening with his wife, and so he's like in his mid-50s, and like really, like really like he achieved a lot in his life materially, built his own business and did lots of different trainings, and he's really well established. And he completely loves Srila Prabhupada's purports. And what he said on Tuesday was when they came, he said, "This is so clear. There's no like maybe this or maybe that, or we could, it's just clear." And he's like, he was beaming like such a relief. It's just so clear. This is how it is. So I'm reminded of that when you're sharing, Rosa. Yeah, the clarity. Thank you. There's something in the chat. Thank you for sharing that sweet exchange with your parents. Hare Krishna.
And
Is there anything else? Any other sharings, realizations, questions?
the point that I wanted to make with the impersonalist comment is like, what areas in my life very subtly am I keeping my eyes closed when it's right there? That's all. And I know that there's plenty.
Like you're looking at yourself and areas in your consciousness where you're impersonalist, you have an impersonal approach. Thank you.
Yeah, this pastime from Srila Prabhupada that Bhakti and Rosa just shared. I mean, because of course it's natural for the soul to be open and open-minded and like that. Within like the way I'm receiving Prabhupada's comment to the gentleman there, said, "Oh, we should read." So sure, search, and to what extent are we actually looking for truth, and to what extent are we attached to the image of I'm a searcher. I'm searching for, am I attached to the image? And to what extent am I actually looking for truth and ready to follow truth and live my life according to truth? To what extent, in the name of search, am I actually avoiding, embracing, and surrendering to what is true?
Yeah, another identification, which can look like, oh yeah, I'm so sincere, I'm searching. Yeah.
What comes up for me in that too is that I wonder about my tendency to like want to read all the time and read. I'm so attracted to Prabhupada's books. Like I would just spend all day reading, and I've been worried that that's my my tendency to grasp for knowledge. But I think the distinction is, am I doing the activity of reading in surrender and acceptance, or am I doing it from trying to get the marker, right? Like trying to grasp, trying to understand, put it all nice and neat, or am I just in it, accepting and surrendered? And
You're in the question of what is your motivation to read. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, and I'm reminded of how spiritual life is never automatic. Like it's never automatic. It's and you know, I know, like I was writing an article for my newsletter about transformative communication, and how the helper syndrome can be so well covered by all the helping skills. Like I'm a helper, and so I'm applying all these skills, But am I applying them really because out of heartfelt compassion and service? Or am I applying them because I'm identified with the helper image? So that comes to my mind, like it's just never automatic. And it's a question I want to always ask myself, what's my motivation? Am I going to Srimad Bhagavatam to hide from life, to hide from my service? Am I going there to feed some image, mask? Am I going like with a true, sincere desire for purification and service? And I know for me, it's like always mixed.
And of course, I appreciate the discussion. And of course, like for whatever reason we go to Bhagavatam or going to chanting japa or whatever limb of bhakti, whatever our motivations, we get purified.
Yes, thank you for that. It's not that I need to wait with chanting until I'm pure and then I can start. It's
Really, like so much. I have a state test I ought to be studying for. And the other night I had time and I saw the nectar of instruction on my shelf and I pulled it. I've never opened it. I read the entire book in one night. Didn't study for my test, but hey.
Thank you for sharing. Okay, well, the verse we read today is the great transcendentalist thus describe the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the pure devotees deserve to see more glorious things in transcendence beyond these features. So there's always more to discover. Hare Krishna, thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai,
Vamandev ki jai.
Bye.
Prabhupada ki jai.
jai. Thank you,
Hare
Anand.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Bol. Hare Krishna.